Okay, here we go. Nice and quiet.
Sound speeds, camera rolling.
Holding for sound.
Last looks. Calling for last looks.
And set and action.
I need to swap batteries.
You know, making movies is hard.
Making movies is hard.
Welcome to Making Movies is Hard, the podcast about the struggle of being an independent filmmaker. I am Alrik, the founding host of the podcast. I've been crewing up on sets for over 10 years. I've made dozens of films, shorts, and features in many different crew positions, including producer and director. And I am just finishing up my first feature as a writer-director called The Alternate.
Hi, I'm Liz Manischel. I'm a writer, director, producer with 2 features under my belt. I'm also a former film critic and a current distribution consultant who used to manage the creative distribution initiative at Sundance. And please check out my second feature, Speed of Life, on Showtime. Okay, so this week we are doing something a little different. And Alrik and I just talked to each other. We just talked about a few topics, but mainly parenting. And I would like to set this up a little bit of context because it was a bit of a whirlwind during the recording. Alrik sat down right after coming from the hospital knowing that he's going to have a baby in the next few days. So that spun off a little bit of a conversation between us. And then I hope you enjoy that. We hope you enjoy us just kind of like getting things out, almost like therapy with each other. After that conversation, stay and listen to us, please, because we'll be reading some viewer/listener remarks, specifically from G-Ken or Gary Kennedy. And we also have some comments on YouTube videos. And it'll be shorter segments this week, but we hope you enjoy. And without any more goobly goop, here's us just talking to each other.
We're just excited, honestly. This thing, it's going to be a lot of, it's been an experience, but I think we're ready to meet our daughter. So yeah, it's a good feeling. But it's also like perfect to bring us into like our conversation that we're going to have today about parenting and filmmaking. And, it's really interesting because, like, my views on this have changed a lot over the last 4 or 5 years, I guess. Because, when we first started talking about having children and I hadn't made my first feature, it was, like, this big thing, like, oh, my God, like, like, I have to make my first feature before I have a kid, like, because if I don't, like, it might never happen. And, like, I need to start my career and get to a certain level before I become a parent. So then, like, it's taken care of and I'm on this trajectory. And then, like, the child won't stop that from happening. And I think over the years, like, especially, like, when my wife and I decided to start having children or start trying to have a child, it was like I still hadn't made the movie yet, and I was like, oh my God, like, I have to make this movie, like, as soon as, like, this year, like, we have to do it this year, because, like, I could literally have a baby, before the year's over, and that was, like, 2 years ago, basically, and then I think, I'm trying to remember the exact math, but I think it was the end of that year when we shot the movie, or maybe it was the end of the year after, I can't remember, but it was... Shit. I don't know. I don't remember.
There's some sort of relationship between finishing the film and
making the decision.
Conceiving.
Yeah. Making the decision to have a kid. Because, like, we'd always known that we wanted to, but then for a little while we were like, oh, well, maybe we don't want to have kids. And then it was at that moment where it's like, okay, we are, and let's start trying, and then, then it was like a year later when, or whatever, when we actually, it happened again, and then we got the green light, from the universe. So anyways, but what I'm trying, this is a really long thing to say, that it's like, I used to feel like, oh my gosh, like, I have to make the movie first. And then I think while in process of making the movie, it was just like, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, like, if it's shot before the baby, that's great. If not, we'll work it out one way or the other, but I think, to be honest, like, just having the movie in the can before becoming a father, it was good. it gave me more confidence and more just like, yeah, like I can like this can work. Like I can be a filmmaker and I can be a dad, probably. But really, I should hear from you though, because like you've actually you have a kid. You've made 2 features. You're working on your 3rd feature. Like, what was the journey like for you? Like becoming a parent, alongside being a filmmaker.
Well, I was just thinking, you started out at the beginning about having to make a film before having a kid, and I was struck by that. And I know you're a feminist, and so you have both a feminine and a masculine way of looking at things. But I always hear that phrase from women. I never hear that from men, because it's like the burden, as much as a man is going to be involved in the rearing of the child and the support of the woman, very often it is lopsided, the woman's burden. And so I just think it's really interesting that you also had that drive that a lot of women filmmakers do, where it's like, I gotta do this before I make the movie, right? Right. Because very often you'll see like male filmmakers with their partners, and their partners usually are not in the entertainment industry and have some sort of stable income or professional career, and then they could be supportive of them while they make their movies. So I'm praising you for your sensitivity to this process, and that you are going to be an active part in it.
Right.
I wrote an article when I was like pregnant, 3 months pregnant. I've talked about it on the show before, but my main fear was that I kept on talking to women in film, and they kept saying, you are gone for 2 years. Like you have a baby, it's like 2 years to find your stasis. And if you asked me a year ago, have I found my stasis? I probably would have been like, yeah, we're fine. No, I don't think it's really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard to be a parent and an artist. And I think it's because for me, I only have like 5 hours a day where I can work, and then I'm on childcare duty, and childcare duty is like the most emotionally taxing experience of your life, because you're just like watching something that you love feel hurt all the time. Does that make sense? You're just like, they just cry about everything, and you're just like, I want to help you, and it hurts you and it hurts them, and then you like get through it. And I've been thinking about it as war lately. Like every day I'm getting up and I'm going to war, and I'm going to fight this battle, and we're fighting it together in the trenches, me and my kid. But I think there is some relative stasis that has occurred in the sense of, once you have daycare, I think the first, and I feel like this is potentially really overwhelming you right before you're having your baby. But the first landmark is getting on a sleep schedule with your child.
Right. And
without that, your brain doesn't work, right? And there's no point in even thinking about projects at that point, because you're like, you're a vegetable. And then once you get a sleep schedule, you start to like figure out like a shower schedule and an eating schedule. Like you have to relearn how to be human for the first few months, and then you get to know and then your child develops a personality right when you start to return to normal and you start to function and your brain powers come back, and then and then they get so much more complex that it just gets way harder. So what I'm saying is, it's really fucking hard, but like, it's the most rewarding thing in my life, right? It actually almost replaces filmmaking to a degree in terms of my priorities. And that's not for everyone. A lot of people don't want to have kids. I don't think I answered your question, but I want to just reinforce that there are just like specifics to what you're about to go through that are biological and that you can't really break out of. And that's what scared me the most. It's like this idea of like, I won't be able to even think about the things that I want to think about, because I will have to learn to be human again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
did I freak you out there? Was that even taking you on a wrong pathway, possibly?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it just sounds like that's kind of the deal. Like I have a friend who's 6 months ahead of me right now. He had a kid in January roughly. And so just watching their process and the way that they've managed it, it's really interesting. And like they getting on a sleep schedule with their kid, and they read this book and they got their kid sleeping 8 hours a night, like really quickly, like going like 10 to 5 or something like that. Really, like I think within 2 or 3 months, maybe. I don't know if I'm getting that right, but something like really a lot earlier than I thought that you could do that. So we might try to do the same thing and see how that works, But yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of like really like just like a lot of good things around the pregnancy. Like, I've got some paid time off. My wife's got some paid time off, and so we've got a little time to figure it out and see how we are as parents and sort of figure out how this is going to work, And then, like I used to like before I was like, well, here's the plan. Like, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do, like, how we're going to take care of the kid. And, we'll have this person, watch him on this days and this person watch him on that day or whatever. And now I've just sort of like let that go and just sort of,
You don't
like,
have to plan that.
Like, we'll figure it out. Like, we're going to figure out how it works. We're going to figure out if we're going to do daycare and what kind of daycare we're going to do. And we'll just work it out. And I mean, I work from home. My wife can work from home a lot too. So I feel like there's a lot of possibility for us to sort of tag team. And then also we have family close too who can help as well.
That's amazing. That's everything. We don't have that.
And a guest bedroom where they can stay with a fold out couch and stuff. And so there's, by having this house that we live in now in Vallejo, it just sort of allowed us to, be ready for this in a way that we didn't really feel like we were as, like we could have done it in a 1-bedroom apartment, and anyone can do anything anywhere, as I've seen through a lot of my friends who, make it happen. But it just feels like I feel comfortable with the situation that I'm in now personally. Like, it feels good.
Yeah. Go on.
No, that's it.
My brother, I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, and they're all at least 9 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So I have like a lot of people who could give advice at any moment.
Right.
And my brother, Ron, he's like, this is my advice for you. Don't adapt to them, have them adapt to you.
Interesting.
And you can do that. Like, sleep training is a controversial topic in the world of parenting, but it worked for us, and our son sleeps through the night and has slept through the night for a very, very long time now, knock on everything. But there are ways that you can kind of institute structure in your child's life where they complement what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of early childhood stuff is like, yeah, there are tons of books and podcasts, but really when you're in the trenches, you don't have the space to read books and podcasts, and it's like, you just have to figure it out on your own. Like, Sean and I, I don't know what Beth is going to do in terms of nursing, but like the waking up every few hours in nursing and all this thing that you go through, you get to know your partner in a completely different way too, right? So like, that's really nice. You're going to have this kind of like different intensity to your relationship.
Yeah.
And you get closer.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nothing to do with filmmaking. It just has to do with parenting.
Right. This is just the parenting episode of the show. No, but I mean, I guess I also like have all these ideas of like what I'm going to be like as a filmmaker and how I'm going to still create my art and like what my plans are, going forward. But I feel like, the way that I'm looking at it is just like giving up everything to like the kid and like sort of being there for them, number one, and then, seeing how things work, and like, can I go away to make a movie for 3 weeks? Like, is that something that's going to happen within the next couple of years? Maybe not. Or am I going to have to make everything that I want to make within my town so I can be home every night and be with my family, And I feel like that's sort of what I want. That's where I want to be, right? Like, I don't want to, like, for the alternate even, like, it was only in Palo Alto or whatever, or Atherton, which is like an hour-ish from Oakland. But like I just lived there, during the movie. So I just, moved to Atherton basically, and like just slept in a room, and wasn't at home for that time, except for like, the weekends basically. But I don't think I'd want to do that again. I think for the next movie, I'd want to just be at home every night. Like, this is where I am. Like, I don't have to move anywhere or go anywhere. So like when I'm thinking about projects or even writing, it's like I'm writing it with my hometown in mind, and with like locations that are 5 to 10 minutes from my house in mind, so that like I can just go shoot and then come back, So I think that's like, at least for the next, couple years, like anything that I make on my own, like that's what I would want to do with it. And then if I, happen to get hired on a project or something else develops, then, we can just take that as it comes.
Cross that bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I went away for 4 days because I had to work the Sundance Summit, and it wasn't optional. Like, I couldn't really say no.
Oh, right.
And so, I video chatted and I pumped and things like that. And I think that experience really taught me. And like, there were a few of those situations where Sean was solo with the baby without me, and it was never my preference. You know, I never wanted to be away. And I think you just have to figure that out for yourself. And I feel the same way, where it's like something has to be really special to pull me away from my kids now. And that's why I also have said no to a few things. And then I know that like something you and I've talked about is like efficiency of time.
Right.
And it's like, you do find a new way. Remember high school when you had like a paper due and you never even looked at it for like 4 days?
Right.
Like, that's the opposite of this. You are going to be the most efficient machine, where you're like, I have something due in a week. I don't know if I'll have time to do it. Like, I don't know what this week is going to happen. I'm going to do it right now. And that's amazing. So like, you'll learn a machine-like efficiency that comes with being a parent, I think, or a caretaker, or I'm worried that we're being I'm being slightly exclusionary and being like, parenting makes things better. There's so much value, but caretaking in general takes up so much of your time and space.
Yeah. I feel like, like I've heard this from other parents, is that like when I have a kid, that it's actually, like you just said, you're going to be more efficient with your time, and that it's actually going to make you a better filmmaker and a better artist, because you're going to put way more into it because the stakes are so much higher. Like, before it's like you could just do whatever you want and it doesn't matter, and there's nothing that you're sacrificing as much for your art. But now, any moment that you're focusing on your film, especially if you're going to go away to make something, it's like you're sacrificing time with your loved ones, especially with your little one, who that time is precious and like only lasts for so long, and then it's gone, and so it just sort of, someone told me it's like going to up your game, and you're actually going to be more productive, and you're going to be more like, you're going to become a better filmmaker from being a dad. And I couldn't tell if that was just like rosy colored glasses parenting advice, or if that was actually like, yay, being a parent's so great, you're gonna kill it, or if that was actual like legitimate advice. So
people said the same exact thing to me, and I would say 30% of it is accurate. The 30% of like the efficiency is there and the stakes are higher. But I was told over and over again, like, oh, as a mom, you're just going to you're going to see things through your son's eyes, and you're going to be a better storyteller. And it's like, that is not happened. Like, I'm not in any way, like, there's no like emotional crux to my storytelling that has changed because I popped something out of my womb. It just hasn't. Maybe it will one day. And I think that's a really nice way of looking at it, right? Like, you go through something traumatic and it changes your worldview. I do think, and this is more for your wife than for you, but like the hormones that happen after you give birth are really traumatic and make you very, very sensitive to such a degree that I call it having a new soul. Like, you feel like you have a new soul. And I think that's that's germane to the conversation. But I don't think being a parent makes me a better storyteller. It just presses my schedule a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't, like, I know you want to be sensitive to all listeners, and, like, there's probably tons of listeners who don't have kids or never going to have children or never want children, you know.
No.
But I feel like the point is that, like, this fear of, like, not continuing your career and, like, you know, like, hamstringing yourself as an artist because you're going to become a parent. I just don't. I think that's what I want to, you know, hopefully as I continue with the podcast and continue as a filmmaker, hopefully you and I can both dispel that, you know. And I mean, the truth is people have been having children for the whole entirety of human existence. And there all kinds of things have been done by parents, you know. So I don't think that like, I don't really feel that like, oh, we can't do anything because now we decided to have a child, you know. It's like, you just have to change the way that you operate, you know, and it's just it's gonna change everything about your life, including the way that you create art. And I think that's okay, and that's wonderful, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna become a new person. Yeah. I think is the recognition,
right?
And that's not bad. And also, 100% I'm with you. It is about privilege, though, right? So it's like the ability to have children and continue with your job, and to have a house or have a condo or one bed, whatever it is. You know, you're set up for success. I just think it was romanticized to me when I was pregnant, and I was like, oh, that sounds so lovely, like this magical world where I am now. You know, I am now the camera for my son's perspective in life, and I want to dispel that myth that it is not roses, but I do want to reinforce that what is about to happen to you is groundbreaking and wonderful, and I've openly said that I feel my life is meaningless if anything happened to my son.
Oh no.
Which is really an extreme statement, but I think that's what happens to you chemically.
Right.
Everything gets turned upside down.
Yeah. I've always felt, I don't know if this is something that like I was raised with from my parents or whatever, but like the idea of becoming a parent, it was like I always knew that the kind of dad I wanted to be was where I put my children or child first. You know, where that they become the most important thing in my life, and that I do things for them, and that I'm living for them and not living for me or for my wife anymore. That it's like, no, like this, what I do and what I am is for them, you know, and to make their life, you know, as best as it can be, and to help them grow and to help them, you know, become hopefully a good person, you know. Like that's the ultimate goal, is to like make sure that the little one doesn't become, you know, Darth Vader or, you know, like whatever, a crazy person. Like you want to make sure that your kid becomes a healthy, normal human the best that you can. And so like that's sort of that's my focus. And then I think, you know, outside of that, it's like, yeah, just, you know, whatever art I can create, whatever I can make is just gonna, you know, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what it is. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's hard to say like what it's going to be or how it's going to be until you're actually living it. But I feel like, you know, it's the same as anything. It's like it's all on you, right? Like I think that's like one of these things that we've said on the show a lot and we talk about as filmmakers, but it's all on you to make your art come. Like no contest you win, no meeting you get, no pitch you give, no person you meet is going to unlock this key to allow you to create your art. You have to do it. And I think like it's even more so true when you're a parent. It's like it's all on you to do it and to figure it out, you know? And I think that's like, I wish I could just tell that to every filmmaker who asks me for advice. It's like, it's you. It's you. Yeah. It is. And there's nothing else besides you to make it come true. And I mean, I feel like knowing that and embracing that, I think that is like one of like the thing that I'm thinking about as a filmmaker is like really helping me to, you know, approach my next project, is just to realize that there's no code, there's no thing. It's just you.
Well, I love that. And also, I think you being a new parent and other parents out there can be a source for change. You know, like on Lena, we brought Colin to the location scout. When I was going to direct Lady Parts, me and the DP, Liz Yarwood, our only demand was that we had child care covered. And the producer was like, yep, that's fine. So I think we can live in that space where you ask for the things you need to be a good storyteller and a parent. And just going back to what you said about putting your kid first, it's funny. Sean doesn't like this, but I call Colin the love of my life. I think I feel like he's the love of my life. And I always openly tell Sean that Colin's more important than he is, which maybe I shouldn't do too often, but it is the truth. But there is this recognition of like, and I do think it's biological. I don't think it's by choice. I don't think it's optional. Where your brain is just like, nope, it's someone else now, you know?
Right.
And your job is to protect them. I just think that's also really interesting in the way you view the paradigm in which you view the world. I remember a few weeks after giving birth, driving on the freeway with my son in the car seat in the back. And there were flashes of like, it was almost like that character, the Flash. It was like the character of the Flash.
Oh, cool.
Where you could like kind of see in slow motion everything that was about to happen. I was like, this car over here could lean a little left, and this car, I was like, I could see everything like a video game that were all threats to my environment. So yeah, your brain chemistry completely changes. I'm getting in the weeds because I never talk about this, and I think that's what's happening here.
You should make a movie about that, like your senses being heightened as a parent or as a mom. You know, just like whoa, boom, boom, boom. Okay, all the dangers, all the things that can happen.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
But do you? I hope you feel charged up.
Yeah. No, I feel good. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I don't know if I'm just a crazy person, but I don't feel like any worry or concern or like, oh God, I wasted my time, or oh, I wish I would have done more, or anything. It's more like no, like it'll happen, and like if I, when I'm meant to make my next movie, I'll make my next movie. If it's in a year, it's in 6 months, it's in 2 years, it's in 10 years. Like it doesn't matter. Like whenever it happens, it's going to happen for the right reasons. And as long as I pick a good movie or a good story that I believe in, it'll be worth it, which just goes back to what we've been talking about the last couple of days with like, just like, what movie was worth making? Like, do low budget movies matter? And I feel like it's the story, right? Like if the story matters to you and it's something that you think is special, that you care about, that you don't think you've seen before, that you think other people are going to like as much as you will, or at least there's one person out there who's going to like it the way that you do, that's all that matters. And it doesn't matter like how much money you put into it, or the movie stars you get into it. I mean, those are all great things and all would be good, but I feel like if the story's good and you can make the art good, then it's worth pursuing.
I'm the opposite. I think it's a collaboration. I don't care about story anymore.
No.
I'm like 100% on, can I have a good time with these people? Are they respectful to me?
Right.
Even if it's like a flipping peanut butter commercial and that's what I make for the rest of my life. I'm now at the point where I'm like, yeah, there are projects that I want to make that reflect my soul a little bit more than a peanut butter commercial. But after my experiences the past year, I'm just like, no, it's about fun. It's about fun. Because if you don't have a relaxed, fun atmosphere, it just eats you up inside and you get resentful. And then it's like, this is too hard of an industry to do without the fun. So obviously it's a combination of both. But right. I've just been thinking about that lately. I wrote an email to Christine Weatherup today where I was like, thank you. Thank you for being my collaborative partner on the film that on my film I made 8 years ago. And thank you for trusting me. And I'm just now in this weird space of looking back while looking forward and thinking about Lady Parts, which dissolved, and which is now being made by someone else. And just trying to figure out what I could take from it. Again, we should just cut this section out because it's just like a diversion. It's a diversion that's not super helpful to the main conversation.
I've been thinking about it a little bit myself, and just because you mentioned it a few times on and off the air, and I was just thinking about is it a big problem if you decide to back away from a project and then the project gets made with someone else? It's like, should that be something that bothers a person or is an issue? And the way I was thinking about it is just like, well, you backed out of it for very specific reasons because you didn't want to make the movie that was being, pushed towards you, or that you were being, encouraged to go and make, and you're like, no, this isn't the way that we're making this movie, and the movie that we're making is not the movie that we want to make. So we're going to say, good luck, but no thanks. And then for that movie to be made by someone else, like, should you have hurt feelings over that? Like they're making a movie that they believe in. It's a movie you don't believe in, but who cares? Like, they're making the movie that they want to make. Like, it was gonna be made, so.
My guess is that they didn't stick to the script and that they deviated from the script and that they had the freedom. The person who took on that project has a lot more power and influence than I do. They garnered more money. They garnered a bigger budget with this director because they were more high profile than I am.
But do you know that for a fact? Or is that just assumption?
I know that for a fact that they got more money. I don't know about the script because someone unsolicited started telling me about the production, and I was like, that was the film that I dropped. And so I have some information about it.
Right.
My feelings aren't, it's complicated, right? It's like, my feelings aren't hurt that the film is being made because honestly, I really want the person, Devin, whose story it is. She is so driven to make this movie, and she sacrificed a lot. So I'm glad that the movie's being made. It's a FOMO feeling. It's like, oh man, like I couldn't figure out a way to navigate the politics to make this work for me. And now I have one less collaboration. I have one less collaborator. And now I have this like resentment over the 3 years that I spent on this project. And my teammates who also left weren't being respected at all at that moment either. So it's just like this unfinished business that gnaws at me. But I'm not upset at the filmmaker. I think she's amazing. And then, I'm glad that Devin gets to make her movie.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, but who knows? Like, they could have decided to make the movie you didn't want to make, or they turned it into something different that you maybe also didn't want to make. But I think to me, I know that feeling, the FOMO feeling, but like, I think from an outsider's perspective, it's like you made the only decision you could make. And if you had made any other decision, it wouldn't have been a good experience for you and your team, and you probably wouldn't have made anything that was any good, and
right.
Who knows, they may not make anything that's any good either, right? Like, who knows?
But it's theirs.
But it's what they decided to do, and how they decide to spend their time, and your time is probably better spent doing the things that you're doing now for you, and going to lead to a better project and a better movie in the end, because it's something that you believe in and that you care about. And so that's what I've been thinking about, like in the shower and like just walking around the house. It's just like, wow, like, like Liz really did the right thing, but she's suffering. And it's like, that's not, it's like, but like, how could she not suffer right now? Like, is there a way that you could think about this where you not have those hurt feelings, So
I haven't figured out a way yet. It still gnaws at me, but you saying that is, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
It's very helpful. Look you're so wise. Look at you. It's this impending baby. It's impressive.
Well, I got booted off of something years ago, and then I got replaced by another director, and then they made another. They reshot what I did, and made another version of it, and then it never got released. And it's still
Was it a feature?
It was gonna be a web series. And then I think they turned it like it was really complicated. So originally what we did was like a teaser trailer that was going to be a feature. Then they turned it into a web series while I was still part of the project. And then I'm not sure if it went back to a feature or it went to a web series, but I know that they recast and reshot the same exact scene that I had already shot in a different location with different people and everything. And I've been begging the filmmaker, because I'm friends with her, to show it to me, and she's very uncomfortable. And I was actually trying to get her to come on the show to talk about this whole experience, because I had a bad experience with this person. I got booted off the project. She took my place, made another version of it, had even a worse experience with this person. Oh, no. And even more, like she went through it way worse than I did for a longer period of time. But she's not ready to talk about it, and I can't say who it is or anything, but it's something that I wanted to bring on the show to have this like kind of cathartic conversation about like how terrible it was for me at the time, and then how even more terrible it was for her, and then it is still not good. And and it was like my first experience of being replaced and being booted, and something being taken away from me that I worked really hard on. And so I know a bit of what you're going through. Obviously, I don't think mine was as long of a time, and it wasn't a feature. It was a shorter project. It was hopefully going to be a feature. So I can relate, but I mean, it took me a long time to get over it, and I'm sure that for you, it's going to take a time as well. But I'm glad that we can have this conversation, that you're willing to talk about it, because
a little bit.
I feel like giving yourself the permission to understand that you made the right decision is something that you owe yourself. Thank you. And that not to like feel like, oh my God, I should have done something else. It's like, no, you did what you needed to do, and this was gonna happen. And like, I don't know if you knew that when you made the decision, that you knew that the movie was gonna continue, but it, it's like this.
I figured it would. But I didn't realize that they would upgrade.
Who knows? Right.
I was like, oh, wow.
But did they, Liz? Yeah. Did they upgrade? Because I don't know if you don't know if you can't really say that. It's just a different. They just changed it. It's just different.
They graded. Yeah. It's not up or down.
It's not up or down. They just shifted to something different. Yeah. And, I hope that one day you can root for this movie, too. And it sounds like you already are a little bit, which is nice. But, I mean, because we should all...
I'm less cranky.
Because no matter what, like, we're all in it together, right? We're all filmmakers. We're all in this together. We should all be supporting each other no matter what this situation. And, like, I have another friend who I'm not going to mention, but, like, they used to say all the time, like I was like, well, wouldn't you be happy like if I made a movie, because like then it's just more chance that another low budget movie like your low budget movie can be made. Like we're all supporting each other. And they were like, no, like I feel like you making your movie, it's like one less movie to be made out there, and it's like something lesser for me. Like it's less for me if you make yours.
That's the pie analogy, right? You're taking a slice of the pie, and now there's less pie for everyone.
But I don't think that's true. I just don't. I feel like if someone else gets their low budget sci-fi indie movie made, it opens a door for more low budget sci-fi indie movies to be made, and it whets the appetite of the audience for more movies like this. It doesn't make it. Like if there's one alternate dimension movie made, it's not like, oh, mine can't succeed. It's like, yes, people are more into this, and there's more of them, so there's more of a market, there's more of a reference point, there's more to go around. And that's my perspective. Right. And I mean, and I feel like
it's healthy. Well, it's a healthy perspective. It's like a healthy person talking out loud.
I guess, I don't know. It's more of a positive perspective, I suppose.
Well, positivity is healthy, but wait, I think I am noticing a thread of this, and the thread of the past few weeks. And a thread for at least myself personally is process, right? When we talked about this, I think yesterday when we were recording, is like if you don't enjoy the process, what's the point? And I think if you can write projects, make projects, not thinking about and taking it as they come, right? Deciding if you need to move production to Georgia, then you evaluate whether you want to leave your child, and you think and you make the decision that's best for you.
Right.
But the process of making should be enjoyable. The process of putting it together is supposed to be why we do this. And
Right.
very often, I had a DP say to me once, like I was interviewing a DP, actually a really well-known female DP before she broke out. And she's like, what is the visual design for the film? And I had no answer for her. And she's like, I meet a lot of filmmakers in low budget who have no time to dream because they're thinking so hard about how to make the film rather than how to enjoy the experience. So I think the thread for me out of all of this is, had I enjoyed the process of making Lady Parts, which, to be honest, there were parts of it that I did, and there were parts of it that were very frustrating. Had I enjoyed the process entirely, I wouldn't be so cranky now. So it's making that decision of doing the projects that you think are fun with people that you think are fun, that you think are worthy of your time, so
Right.
that if you do get booted or you do leave, at least during that time, you were doing your craft. You were making your projects,
Right.
and the time that you spent away from your child was worth it.
Right. Yeah, because you're
You
doing
got
something
something
that
out of it.
mattered. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And you were doing
So story
something
or collaborations, whatever it is.
that helped you grow,
Yeah.
Although I would argue that the bad experiences also help us grow a lot too. You need those in your life as well.
They make us smarter. I mean, that contract thing came out of this whole experience. My obsession with contracts, my
Right.
obsession with not overcommitting to things and being very clear about boundaries.
Yeah. The one thing I learned about from my experience was like, if you see something that is a red flag, right? Like especially with a person, like an individual, don't try to like be like, oh no, that's just no big deal. Like if you start to see more than one red flag, then maybe you should be like,
That's what Tom Putnam said. He said the exact same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's sort of what I've learned is like, you can start to see this person displaying certain type of behavior, like that is don't ignore it. don't think things will get better because like maybe that's a signal that this is the kind of person that you're involving yourself with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but thanks, Liz, for having this conversation. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you were willing to open up about Lady Parts just a little bit. It's very good.
Can I end on, I know that we're ending, but I just want to
Sure.
say something really, I want to say that I'm really excited for you. I really feel like my cynical side came out in the beginning, and I just want to reinforce the fact that like, I still remember the first moment I saw Colin and he was put in my arms. I remember that feeling. It is the most glorious, if that is your goal in life, it is the most glorious feeling.
Right.
And so that is just around the corner.
Well, thank you. I want to tell one more story. Just before Beth and I had decided to have a kid, we were at some thing or whatever, and there was some woman there, and she said something like, "Yeah, if you." Like, I don't understand women who don't have children. If you haven't gone through that experience, like, you basically aren't a woman or something like that. And we were, like, mortified when this person said that. And we, like, I think it took everything for us not to speak out and be like, how dare you? And I feel like that's something I want to just, make sure it's clear to people. It's like, we're not saying one way is the right way. Like, you could definitely have a fulfilling life and a fulfilling experience without doing this thing. It's just like, for some people, it's what they want and what they need. And for others, it isn't. And I think it's either way is beautiful, And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Sorry. There's a great documentary that I'm consulting on called My So-Called Selfish Life. And it's about people who choose not to have children. And it's like the best documentary because it's like, first of all, you get to make a life that's completely yourself.
Right.
It's your own,
Yeah.
and you get to do with it everything you want to do with it. It's amazing. And then the way it's looked on in society is horrible. The way that childlessness is or child rearing is presumed is pretty troublesome. But yeah, I'm always envious of everyone who doesn't have children.
Yeah.
You made a good decision too.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, life fulfillment comes from here, right? And it's like, whether or not you have other things, other people, children, whatever, it's like, it's all here. And like, you can do that with a partner, without a partner, whatever. There's many ways that you can have a fulfilling life, but it starts here. Anyways,
I like
I don't know. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad.
I think that's good. Good way to end the conversation. What we're doing right now is very reminiscent of a segment that Bo Burnham does in his latest special, Inside. So, Alrik, what do you remember about us talking to each other just a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was definitely out of it. Well, not out of it, but just like really elevated when I sat down because I just come from the hospital. The pregnancy has been real the whole time, but it just got a lot more real, people. It's definitely a big moment, which is very exciting. And then, what Liz didn't say in the intro is that, she got a little emotional and opened up about a film project that she had to leave due to just like her own decisions as an artist and what was best for her and ultimately the project. And just, kind of we talked about what that feels like a little bit and just sort of, a little discussion about, moving on from projects and what that's like. So I think that's a really special conversation.
Birth and death.
Yeah, in a way.
Aha.
Exactly. But Liz, guess what? You've got mail.
My breath catches in my chest until I hear 3 little words. You got mail.
We got some YouTube comments. These are all from episode 315 with Kate Forsatz and Meredith Veach. Longtime listener Elfin Shot Films writes, watching this after listening to the podcast, it's hard to guess who the editor is based on the images. Smiley face. I don't know what that means, and neither do you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he meant like who edited the show, like if it was Cameron or I, or if it was like who the editor was. If Meredith,
I just got it.
Yeah.
No, I'm worried. I'm worried that the implication is that on-camera people look different from behind the camera and editorial people. And I think it was a compliment about how they're both beautiful women.
Oh, I see.
Hard to tell who is who.
I get it.
But it's really inappropriate,
it's
too.
It's a very inappropriate comment. You're not supposed to say that. What are they saying? All editors are ugly little, whatever. Trolls. Yeah. In my experience, that's very incorrect. People are just people. Elfin Shot. Shame on you for that comment.
If that's what you were implying. If not, please come back and clarify your position.
Yeah, I thought he maybe was saying because Meredith's video was very bad and it was like, it froze a lot throughout and that it was a little blurry. Is that what he meant? That
might be it too.
I think like what you said makes more sense. But it's
because there's a smiley face at the end of it. It's kind of like this flirty comment.
Yeah, more shameful, but makes more sense. All right. Anyways, continue, Liz.
Gary Kennedy has a comment specifically for me. He says, "Liz, can you please splurge the $20 to $30? I think it was, can you let me please splurge the $20, $30 and send you a mic stand so you don't have to keep holding that thing? I appreciate you keeping a consistent distance, but I would like for you not to think about it." I told Gary that I would buy a mic stand like immediately after he wrote this comment, and it's been weeks. It's been weeks, and I am here talking to this mobile mic.
I don't think it's happening. I think you're going to be a mic holder for the rest of your life, which is great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Some people are mic holders. Gary has another comment. After watching the trailer for Threebound, he said, "It's hard to believe that a feature of that quality was shot in only 11 days. It really shows that if you have the right people leading the ship, amazing things can happen." And then he follows up. I think I defended him on the episode and said something how we should be nicer to Gary Kennedy. And he said, "Thanks for having my back, Liz. You should be wearing a cape." That's very nice, Gary. Now here's a question. How old were you two, and what was it you learned? And what was it when you... Okay. How old were you two when you learned there was a large group of people that go into making a movie? For me, I was around 8 to 10, and it was the show Movie Magic. Okay. We'll take the bait. Alrik, how old were you when you learned like a massive amount of people make a movie?
So I was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles movie when I was 5. I thought it was the greatest thing ever to be made, and I watched it over and over and over again. And then we had a friend of my dad who lived down the street from us, and we were like over there. I was like banging on his drums or whatever. And then there was some mention where he's like, he knew somebody who worked on Ninja Turtles, or he somehow had some connection to somebody who did some special effects for Ninja Turtles. And then I think when he said like, oh yeah, like the, you know, someone I know helped make that, I was like, oh, someone made that? People made that? Like, oh, okay. And so I think that was probably the moment, like at my this random person's house, did on the street from mine, realizing, oh my gosh, people make movies, they don't just come into existence.
They're not just these like miracle objects that manifest themselves. I honestly cannot remember, and I don't think it was an aha moment. Because I was in theater, and so to me, like, any creation of art involves just like a massive amount of people. Like, you have the tech crew, you have the light, you know, you have all these people. So like for me, it didn't seem odd. But I did want to mention that my son is obsessed with distributor and production company icons in the front of a movie. And so he'll watch things just to see the logos. He always goes, logo. Like, he's obsessed with the MGM lion. He's obsessed with the Warner Brothers WB. Ooh. And we have like YouTube videos that show the evolution of these icons. So he's really, really into logos, and he can identify like 30 movies based off of DVD spines right now.
Man.
So he's
that's
weirdly specific about these things right now.
I love that he cares about the logo, because like, you know, those logos are really cool, like the MGM logo, the Universal logo, the Pegasus logo from I think it's Columbia, those are TriStar. Those are really cool, and like, you know, those old school ones are special, and like now we just have a bunch of shit like these 3D motion ones that are just not as cool.
Well, what he does, and I swear we'll move on, he'll say he wants to watch something, which is like Romeo and Juliet. He'll be like, Nomeo, and then he goes, the movie. And what that means from the very beginning with all the logos. It doesn't like, so he only thinks something is a movie if you see the logos at the beginning.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
Maybe it's true.
I want to add one more thing about the mic stand. Yeah. Timothy was a mic holder. He didn't have a mic stand. I have always had a mic stand. He never wanted one. He always held his. So I think it's very fitting that you are a mic holder, because it's like, yeah, there's one stand person and there's a holder person. Perfect. I can't sit and I will move around, and you will never hear me if there's a stand. I have to adjust it to me. That's amazing. All right. So we also have 2 new comments from a new listener who we've never heard from before, G Long Video Guy. And they say, hey, Alrik and Liz, love your show. Love listening to it as I have my morning coffee to get me in the mood for writing and editing. Amazing. Kate's film seems interesting. Would have loved to hear more discussion about its premise and inspiration and whether or not it works. Anyhow, thanks for a great podcast and YouTube show. Much love from down under, smiley face. And then you say something like, good point, we'll try to do that more. And then G Long replies, hey Liz, you guys do a great job reviewing the short films and make excellent comments. It's always hard being honest and critical, and blowback usually comes in response, which is just human nature, I guess. But I just thought for the feature film section of the show, even if you haven't seen the film, just a few critical questions about the concept and premise and whether the filmmaker thought the concept worked and what they would change, pretty similar to the questions you guys asked in the Get Shorty section. I might add real quick that I'm probably more interested in ideas and concepts than I am in nuts and bolts of production. That's just me. Anyhow, Liz, thanks for your reply. I always look forward to your discussions. So I don't know, Liz, what do you think? Should we try to bring this into our discussion with our main guests? Or I always felt like it was inappropriate, you know?
Oh, really? I always forget because I'm only interested in process and like budget and like resources. But I completely I forget that as writers and creators, we often don't know is something feature worthy, right? And we can try to diagnose that with our guests. That's what I think is the core. That's how I'm interpreting the core of G-Long's question. But is that how you are? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's interesting. Like, that could be one of the first 5. It could be like, how did you know? Like, because the crew size, I don't know. I'm kind of getting over that question. Like, who cares? And it usually comes out in the interview anyways. But yeah, I mean, like, how did you know this was feature worthy, or how did you know this concept was feature worthy? Like, I think that could be.
Or what was the inspiration or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think that could be cool. I think I'd be really worried or really hesitant to like try to talk about problems with a feature with you know, a main guest, because like I don't think you want to really highlight like any potential issues with the film when you're promoting it, you know, like Get Shorty, it's like it's kind of the same, but like it's more of a segment where it's sort of designed around the idea of you know, being critical, it seems, you know, or that's how it's evolved. Like it's not like a regular segment where we're just talking about the creation of a thing. We're more talking about like, did it do what it was supposed to do? But like with a feature, it's like it just came out, like, you know, doesn't seem appropriate to be like, so would you've changed the storyline for your feature that you're promoting right now? You know, Barbara Crampton, you know, it's like, I don't think I'd want to talk to Barbara about that. I'd be like, you know, we're here to talk about how they made it, not about, you know, if it was actually a good movie to make, you know.
Yeah, so just more about the origin of these concepts makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think we could talk about origin and inspiration, but I don't think whether or not a plot point is good or bad, I don't think that's appropriate, like, thread to tug at, you know? Yeah. We got one more. I wanted to sneak this one in from episode 316. This is another Gary Kennedy, another G-Ken classic. He says, my favorite part of your show is the Get Shorty segment and the thoughts on the films afterwards. I can understand how maybe a comment here or there could rub someone the wrong way, but you're also giving honest feedback, which seems to be impossible to get from people sometimes, which is true, especially from friends or family. Blowing smoke up your ass doesn't help to sharpen the skills of any artist. And this is in reaction to our discussion about, you know, someone having, you know, some hurt feelings and some negative reaction to us talking about their film on Get Shorty. So I don't know. What do you think, Liz? Do you think he's right? Should we continue with what we're doing, or do we need to be more sensitive?
Oh, I hate Get Shorty so much. I hate it. I hate doing it. I hate the whole process. I never look forward to it. But that's my own thing. I recognize that I have my own demons and that I need to get over those demons.
Why do you hate it so much? Why do you hate it? It's fun. It's like fun to watch these movies.
Because I don't know really who... Because I just think of myself, if I'm just listening to a podcast and I just want to hear about movie making, and then I get to this section where they're talking about a short film that I haven't watched, and I have to go find it on Twitter and then get into the nitty gritty of like the specifics of the camera and the performances, I'm just kind of like, why am I would want to hear more about the main interview or the hosts or news or something like that. So I always feel like, who cares? Who cares what we have to say? But if Gary Kennedy likes it, I will keep doing it.
I don't know.
Do it until Gary Kennedy gets bored.
Maybe we should do a poll at some time on Facebook to see like what people think, because you know, like I always thought of it of like the Script Notes 3-page challenge segment that they do, where they take 3 pages from a script and then they dissect it and talk about how the first 3 pages are working. It's usually the first 3 pages. They read them out.
They read the first 3 pages?
They do. Yeah, they read them on the show. Yeah. So you think that's like if we played the short film, that it would be better?
Well, maybe if we did it on the YouTube show, if we
spliced it in.
Could we put the whole short in the YouTube show maybe?
We could. Yeah, we could do that.
It's not a horrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why that would be a bad thing, because the non-YouTube version would still exist without the short film, and then you could just, you know, it would be really easy for me to like just create another segment or sequence and just drop it right in, you know, as long as the filmmakers provided it, you know. But I could also just rip it from YouTube as well.
Right.
But
I think that makes sense, because then we get people watching their work. They understand what we're talking about. There's a little bit of context there. And then I feel like there's utility to people watching us on YouTube too, right? It's like, oh, it's not just like us staring at each other holding microphones. Like, there's something there. Okay.
Well, I'm into that. So, are you saying that we would watch it live together too, and then that we would?
No, we don't have to do that.
Okay, that'd be too much. Yeah, No, I'm into it. So like when I get back from my little mini hiatus that I'm secretly going on, basically, people aren't going to know there was a hiatus until this episode comes out, and this is like going to be the third out of 4 in a row, probably. So like this will be like a shock in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But yeah, no, I'm into trying that.
That's cool.
Yeah, awesome.
So if you want to be like Gary Kennedy or G Long Video Guy, you can leave a comment for us on YouTube at our Making Movies is Hard podcast YouTube page. Or if you really like the show, you can leave us a review on iTunes. Or if you just feel obliged or excited to do so, you can support the show on Patreon, www.patreon.com/MMIH podcast, and give whatever you can. Thanks in advance. I just realized some people might not even know what Patreon is. It's just a way where people can donate money to the show to keep it going.
Sure.
Finally, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at MMIH Podcast. And don't forget, you can always send us a question, comment, or suggestion to podcast@makingmoviesishard.com.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. And please let us know if you liked this solo episode. We will do more of them if you liked it. If you hated it, we will not do any more of them, and we'll just do guests. But I like them. This is like something I really miss from my days with Timothy, because like it is this therapy. The problem was sometimes coming up with topics to talk about that we actually cared about. But, you know, I feel like as long as there's a good topic and there's something that really is tugging at either Liz or I think we should just continue doing these. But if you hate them, we probably won't do them. So let us know. You can also check out our website, makingmoviesishard.com, where you can find links to the things we talked about in this episode. Maybe one day. And then thanks to editor Cameron for doing the editing. You're a champ. Doing 4 in a row. You're my hero. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Talk to you guys next week. But Liz, I think it's time for you to talk about Get Shorty.
Beep, bop, boop, bop, bop. Are we doing it, Shorty?
Oh, shit. Sorry. Liz,